Hello everybody, and welcome back to All the Mods 10. In the previous episode, we completed the Wither's Compass by crafting every single component that it required. So that is now here inside of our museum, and we are now one step further towards crafting the All the Mods Star. In today's episode, we're going to continue on our journey towards the All the Mods Star by crafting the Pulsating Black Hole. To craft this, we're going to need to get into a variety of different mods, some of which we've gotten into already, some of which we've actually found these inside of a chest inside the end. Either way though, it's going to be a little bit of a journey. If you're as excited as I am to get started with this pulsating black hole, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a ton and lets me know that you guys are interested in these videos. If you want to go one step further, why not consider becoming a channel member? It's the best way to support me directly, and you get access to all of these videos early. I've even recently introduced a new tier for memberships that's only 99 cents and you still get early access to videos, so what are you waiting for? So to start off today, we are crafting the pulsating black hole. Now we have a few different components here that we're going to need to craft. First off, I'd like to gather what we already have crafted before. So we have the paradox machine. I think I also found a micro missile recently inside of the end when I was looking for scrolls in the end the other day. So let's see here. This one goes in the top right, and that's 2 out of 9 components already. Not too bad. If you'll recall, this is the paradox machine from Just Dire Things, which we crafted when we were doing the time crystal stuff. In the previous episode, we also worked on industrial foregoing, which means that we should be able to easily get this explosive mycelial generator crafted. Let's see. Yeah, we just needed an advanced machine frame for that. That's really not too bad at all. So I think that's everything to craft the explosive mycelial generator. Not too bad. This can go down here in the center in the bottom. Next up, I want to craft a quantum ring from Applied Energistics. These are one of the ways that we could actually connect our Applied Energistics system up through dimensions and through long distances. So I'll go ahead and add that as a pattern here. And here we go. That was really pretty easy, actually. I'm starting to get a little bit worried with some of the rest of the components, though. So this one belongs in the top center there. Next up is the pocket storage unit, tier 4 specifically. So I think we need to just go through and craft each of these different tiers. It doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. Here we go. There's tier 3, and once we craft this chest, that is tier 4. Yeah, not too bad. So that can go on our wall, and we're already more than halfway there. Next up, I'd like to look into how to craft the lightning bomb from Evilcraft. It doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. We're going to need a lightning grenade, which we craft with ender pearls surrounding a weather container that has already been thunderstruck, I think. So my thinking here is that we craft a weather container, and I think probably just right click and that will give us something, maybe not. So we actually need to find a dark temple from the Evilcraft mod. And these actually contain an environmental accumulator. So what we can do with these, I think we right click or maybe throw it onto there. There we go. That will begin to accumulate the local weather. So we can pick that up, and that turns it into the sunshine weather container. And if we put 2 buckets of water next to the weather container in our crafting grid, that will produce the rain weather container. And if we put glowstone dust around that, that gives us our thunderstruck weather container. So now we just combine that with some ender pearls, and that gives us our lightning grenades. And we can use those to craft the lightning bomb. Nice. And I was kind of curious to see how this works, so I'm just going to place this down on the ground, flint and steel it, and see what happens. Oh. Okay. That was a little less dramatic than I thought it would be. In any case, though, we can place this in the bottom right corner, and we have only 3 items left remaining. So our next objective is the crystal staff from Roots Classic, which is apparently the most powerful spellcasting staff for our magic. We need to craft a casting ritual in order to actually perform this ritual. So let's see, let's craft what we can here. Here we go, there's our casting ritual. Now, I didn't see a tutorial on either the quest log or in the book or anything like that. So the runic tablet from Roots Classic is actually the guidebook, and it's pretty helpful with actually figuring some things out. So it looks like we're gonna need 4 incense braziers. Here we go. And we'll also need some mundane standing stones. We'll need 12 total of these. And we'll actually need an 11 by 11 area for this as well, so it takes up a pretty decent amount of room. So we want to place one of these mundane standing stones with 2 blocks in between, and then 1 block. And we'll do that all the way around, and in the 4 corners as well. Here we go. And it looks like the outermost ones might need to be too tall. I'm not entirely sure on this. But we'll try that. Oops. And our incense braziers can be anywhere inside of a 9 by 9 area of this. I think I'll just put them right against the table itself. Just like that. So on the altar itself, we place a block of diamond, a stick, and blaze powder. Next up, we'll need a bark knife. And we right click on a log like that, and that will give us these acacia barks. And we'll also need a birch bark. The last ingredient that we'll need is a verdant sprig, which I'm pretty sure you get from just breaking down either grass or leaves, I can't remember which. So these will go inside of the braziers around the ritual here. And now I think we shift right click. Okay, so these outer ones actually need to be attuned standing stones instead of regular mundane standing stones, so here we go, we'll just go ahead and replace those. And now we shift right click. Here we go. The ritual has been started. And hopefully it completes. Hey, there we go. We have our first crystal staff. Nice. So we can put this in the bottom left-hand corner of our crafting recipe. Next up, we need to make our way through the occultism mod to craft the stable wormhole. So we're going to have to go through all of these different steps, craft our first ritual, and eventually make our way towards the wormhole. I think the forbidden zone down here where we have our, what is this, blood magic? Or forbidden and arcanas. I think next to this will be a pretty good place for this. So I'm going to start by crafting the Dictionary of Spirits, which is basically the guidebook for this mod. To continue on, we're going to need demon fruit, which I think we've already gotten before, as well as a flint and steel. All right, and just a quick side thing, my storage was completely full, and I didn't quite realize why. And then I looked at each of my individual drives, and I realized they were pretty much all full of wax. So yeah, I'm just filtering out all of the wax that was in the storage containers, and they're gonna go into this drawer and get voided eventually. I think I literally have like 100,000. Nope, I have 400,000 wax. Yeah, it's gonna take a while. Alright, so the next thing I need to do is craft some night vision potions, which we can then brew in a demon's fruit, and that will create the third eye effect. So what I want to do now is to actually grab some of our demon dream fruit, throw it down on the ground, and set it on fire. That will turn it into spirit fire, which will allow us to convert different items into, well, different things. So I'll throw in some diorite, for example, and that turns into other rock. If we throw in some oak saplings, we get regular oak saplings, technically. However, if we have the demon sight effect on, we'll actually notice that these are not regular oak saplings. So the thing that we're looking for is actually when we throw andesite in, we get this other stone. We'll also need to throw some diamonds into this fire, and that gives us spirit attuned gems, which will allow us to move on to the next quest. And now we've finally unlocked rituals. Our first task is going to be to craft the Book of Binding, as well as some purified ink. And I'm just going to quickly take a small break from doing that to craft some dye seeds. That way we have dye essence and we can create any dye that we need. I technically do have black dye if I break down some of these squid ink, but I'd rather just get a dye seed, and that way we have access to every single dye. And this way we can actually also set up some recipes for these as well pretty easily. But we'll throw some black dye inside of our spirit fire, and out we get the purified ink. I thought I did that wrong for a second. Next up will be the Book of Binding, and we need to specifically craft the folio, I think is how you pronounce that. So we need to first craft a Book of Binding that's empty. So we need to throw a feather inside of our spirit fire. That gives us the awakened feather. And we throw a book inside the spirit fire, like that. And we get a taboo book. And that's everything we needed for the Book of Binding folio. Nice. Next up, we'll need to craft a butcher's knife. And we need to slaughter some cows with our butcher's knife, and we should get tallow from that. And if we combine that with some string, that gives us a large candle. Alternatively, what we can do is actually just use regular candles for this. And that's probably what I'll do going forward, since we have a ton of beeswax and honeycomb and all that. Next up, we're going to need spirit attuned crystals, just like that. Next, we need to craft some impure white chalk, which requires otherworld ashes and burnt otherstone. Next up, we're going to need to actually drink one of our potions here, and we can see that this sapling is actually an otherworld log. So we go ahead, and I'm actually going to strip this. I don't remember if it needs to be stripped or not. Here we go. So we just go ahead and throw these inside of our spirit fire, and that will give us the otherworld ashes. Next, I'll get some other stone smelting inside of a furnace, and that will produce polished other stone. And when we run that back through the furnace, we get the burnt other stone. With those two ingredients combined, we can craft our impure white chalk. And with the impure white chalk, we just go ahead and throw that inside of our spirit fire. And if we ever want to clear away the chalk, we're going to need a chalk brush. So we can craft that just like that. Next up, we're going to need 4 sacrificial bowls and a golden sacrificial bowl. I believe that's everything required to craft our first ritual. So the first step is going to be to basically combine our Book of Binding foliate with our Dictionary of Spirits, and that will bind a specific foliate to our book. So inside of our book, once we get to the chapter, we can click on the Pentacles chapter here, and that will sort of show us different rituals and allow us to craft our circles made of chalk. If you click this button in the top right, named Mark All Unlocked Entries as Red, you'll actually unlock a feature which will allow us to show a multi-block preview of our ritual. So we can go ahead and click on that, and that will show us exactly where in the world this ritual will go. I'm thinking right there is good enough. So we'll need to begin by writing on the ground with our chalk these different symbols. Next, I'll get my candles placed down here in the corners, and we only need 1 sacrificial bowl here in the center. And we can place our other sacrificial bowls around the outside here. I think these can go basically anywhere. And now inside of those braziers, we need to place 1 iron ingot, 1 gold ingot, 1 copper ingot, a silver ingot, and then the one in the middle, we place our book. So I'll just quickly run around and do that. And finally, place the book in the center. And that will begin our ritual. And I think you'll know that it's working as the items around the ritual begin to disappear. So that should be the last one there. Soon, maybe? Okay, it disappeared. And the last one should be the book in the middle. And there we go. We have our Crytimthera, who is our Foliate Crusher. So now we can complete this quest. And the next step is to basically create the other 3 types of chalk. Now, these actually require the gold dust, which you can actually get from a variety of different ways. We actually have a mechanism set up to produce dust automatically. Same goes for the obsidian dust and the silver dust. However, I do want to do things kind of intended as they are through this mod. So I'll just throw this gold at our foliate, and he should begin to crush down the gold. And he'll slowly make his way through that entire stack of gold. Now, if you shift right click it, it does actually have an interface. So if you don't want it to, do an entire stack of items, you can just pull them out from here. Alright, but I should now have everything to craft our impure yellow chalk, our impure purple chalk, which requires a crushed end stone as well, which I forgot about. And finally, our impure light gray chalk, which required a crushed calcite as well. Which is all three of the chalks required to move on to the next stages. So to craft our endgame item that we were needing, we need the stable wormhole. So we're going to need to use the ritual Evesia's spectral compulsion. Evesia's? I think that sounds right. So I'll erase the ritual that we have going right now. And we'll get the preview going for this one. And we'll place that down. For this one, we're going to need white chalk, purple chalk, which... oh, right. These ones actually need to be thrown through the spirit fire. Here we go. Next, we'll get our candles down, and I'm just using the regular Minecraft ones. And I think that's it. We just need the golden sacrificial bowl in the center. And then I think we're going to need 4 of these. I'll make sure and double check here in a second. Looks like we actually need 6 of these. So now I'll just craft an other stone frame. And now we'll get 2 nether quartz, an ender pearl, 2 gold ingots, and our other stone frame inside of these sacrificial bowls. And in the center, we'll place another book of binding, which needs to be bound first, and then we should be able to do this. And here we go. We have our stable wormhole. So with all that out of the way, we can finally place this in the bottom right here. And that leaves only one more item left, which is the Manhattan module, which means we're going to need to get into the Auratech mod. A mod that I've never touched before, so this will definitely be interesting. So our end goal is all the way up here, and where exactly do we start? Looks like right here, maybe? We just need 4 nickel ingots. And I think for this mod, I think I'm going to borrow the area above my reactors. It's not the most well-decorated place, but we can decorate as we go. So the first thing that we're going to need to make is a foundry. And it definitely looks like this mod's going to have a lot of nested crafting recipes, so I'll probably enter all of these into our applied energistic system for auto crafting. All right, and I think I've got enough moving pieces here to craft everything now. And so we're going to be borrowing the mechanism machines quite a lot for this, but that's definitely nice. So here's our foundry, and it looks like it has a little highlight guide on where it can go. So, okay, that's smaller than I thought it was. Next up, we're also going to need adamant ingots, which is just nickel and diamond mixed together. And here we go. We can complete that quest now. Next up, we'll need an assembler, which is going to require some regular vanilla auto crafters, as well as a reinforced plating block. And here's our assembler. Nice. So I guess we can put this next to this. I'm not entirely sure why they have such a big grid. I'm wondering if we can upgrade and expand these in the future. Oh, but if we right click it, it looks like it's adding, or it's missing core blocks. Okay. Which I'm assuming are these primitive machine cores and this path here. So it looks like each machine can be upgraded like that. That's pretty cool, actually. So if I just add these to the foundry like that, does that... Oh, that's a cool little animation. Huh, okay. And now we can actually access it now. Nice. I'll do the same with our assembler, and there we go. Nice. I'll get some power going into these guys. I'm not sure if it matters. It looks like it doesn't really. So next up, we need to use the assembler to craft plutonium pellets, which we're going to need plutonium dust, duratium ingots, and plastic sheets. So as far as I can tell, the only way to get plutonium is to basically use the occultism mod to crush down a plutonium ingot into plutonium. I just tried it here in the mechanism crusher, but that didn't work. Well, it sounds and looks like he's working on it, so I guess this does work. And we're also going to need durantium ingots for this, which I believe is netherite ingots and platinum. And we can actually alloy these inside of the foundry. And the animations on this are very cool. But we needed 8 of these for our next quest, so that should complete it. Here we go, nice. So the next thing that we're going to need is plastic sheets, which requires polymer resin, which requires a few things here. First off, I want a centrifuge. So now I want to make biofuel by crushing down some moss. That will turn into biofuel. I think that's going automatically inside of our system. It is. And in order to get fluids inside of our centrifuge, we're going to need to craft a fluid add-on, which is going to require a few things here. I'm going to start by centrifuging down some coal dust into our carbon fiber strands. We'll need some fluid pipes, which is just made with copper and silicon. And here's our fluid add-on, nice. All right, and with water and biofuel inside of our centrifuge, which we're probably going to need a lot more water. I tried to hook this automatically up to our applied energistic system, but it doesn't quite work. I think I'm going to have to do some shenanigans here with maybe piping it in automatically using some other things. Anyway, though, that gives us our biofuel in liquid form. And now we'll just bucket our biofuel back inside of the centrifuge. Here we go. And, oop, don't take it back out. And then I believe we just place some sand in here. And that will begin to produce our polymer resin. Nice. And all we do with the polymer resin is throw it inside of a furnace, and that produces plastic sheets. So now inside of the assembler, we can combine our plutonium dust, a plastic sheet, and a durantium ingot. I can never pronounce that one. And we get our plutonium pellets. Nice. So we're now halfway through crafting the Manhattan module. The next step is to craft the Heisenberg compensators. And to craft the Heisenberg compensators, we're going to need to craft an atomic forge, which is going to require a few things first. We need to craft 2 flux gates inside of the assembler. These require a processing unit, fluxite, and platinum ingots. I think the best way to get fluxite is probably going to be to use our power system and just convert some amethyst shards. I think that's going to be the easiest. Hopefully we have some amethyst. We don't have a lot, but the other methods seemed a lot more complicated, so I'm just going to go with this one. Alright, and inside of the assembler, we're going to craft our processing unit. That's just going to be a carbon fiber strand, plastic sheet, electrum in the bottom left, and redstone in the bottom right. And we actually need 2 of these, so I'll make sure to make 2. Here we go. And then to make our flux gates, we put our processing units inside of the assembler, and we're going to need 2 fluxites per, and then 2 platinum. And I guess it doesn't matter where exactly things go. That's good to know. Here we go, our first flux gate. Next up, I'm going to craft a pulverizer. And we'll get that down here, and we'll need an ender gate on it. And inside of here, I'm just going to crush some ender pearls. This will give us enduric compound. And that is everything that we needed for the atomic forge. And the atomic forge is pretty big, so I'll place it down there. And we'll surround these with basic machine cores. And right click it, and that should unfold. I really like the animations in this mod. And there's our atomic forge. So what this will allow us to do is basically make computer chips. We're going to start with silicon wafers, which is just 2 silicon and a carbon fiber strand. And this actually needs to be powered via an enduric laser, so we need to craft one of those real quick. We're going to need an enduric lens, which is just a few of these components inside of the assembler. And here we go, there's our enduric laser. I'll place that nearby. I'm not entirely sure where this needs to be placed. I'll give it some room though. Okay, that's very cool. It's seems to be following me around. I really like that. I might use those as decoration. That's very cool. And to figure out a destination for the laser, we need a target designator. Here we go. And I'm assuming we just right click or shift right click. And like that maybe. There we go. And that should be powering this now. Yep, it is receiving a charge now. I'm not seeing a laser or anything coming out of it, so I don't know if it actually has something like that. So inside of the atomic forge, we combine our 4 silicon, or 8 total, I should say, and some of our carbon fiber strands, and that creates our silicon wafers. And now we combine some processing units with our silicon wafers, and I'm realizing that we definitely did not make enough. But we'll see as far as we can get. The next step is the super AI chip, which we need durantium ingots for. Here we go. Here's our super AI chip. Now we combine that with 2 adamantine ingots. And almost there. We have our first Heisenberg compensator. Nice. All right, and that's all of the Heisenberg compensators that we needed, which means we now have everything that we needed to craft the Manhattan module. And with that, we finally have everything that we needed to craft the pulsating black hole. So I'll begin by pulling everything off the shelf. And now we can craft our pulsating black hole. Nice. And that can go here as we completed 3 out of, I think it's 10, I need to count again, of our objectives for completing the All the Mods star. Unfortunately though, that's all the time that we're going to have for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Peace.